Ladies and gentlemen, RIP, Eagles undefeated season. A moment of silence for the undefeated season. Okay, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna try to keep myself together. We are gonna have a little bit of a therapy session on this episode tonight because obviously what we saw last night. It's been less than 24 hours. Having the show on Tuesday night, following a loss on Monday night, makes it a little bit more difficult. So you guys are gonna kind of probably see some of the raw emotions and the immediate reaction. But I'm here with my co-host with the most, as always. What's up, Lindy? How you feeling?
What a way to break in episode 20 on a loss. Well, of course, we're gonna get into it, and just the sheer sloppiness of a performance, especially at home, it just makes it even worse. But yeah, well,
Brutal.
we'll give you all the breakdown for what we've seen.
Yeah. I guess let's just get into it, guys. I mean, the Eagles have lost their first game to the Washington Commanders. Taylor Heineke. It was a complete disaster of a game. It was a dog shit performance. Yes, I'm saying some language on LinkedIn tonight, but I can't help myself, man. I mean, everything that could go wrong in this game went wrong. Obviously, there were some bad calls in the game. There was some bad reffing or whatever you want to call it, officiating. Listen, I can't blame it on the refs. You don't want to put your team in that position where you put it in the referee's hands to decide the game. You don't want to do that. Obviously, the last play with Brandon Graham getting that penalty, it was stupid. I mean, the guy, he had his knee down. He gave up on the play. Brandon Graham pretty much, I'm not going to say he cost us the game, but that pretty much sealed it at that point. The play by Quez Watkins was a killer, man. I mean, the fumble on that play, it was a big play. He gets up, tries to run for some more yards. If he just runs under the ball a little bit more, it's probably a touchdown. AJ on that interception, the ball even goes through his hands. So, you know what? Everything, it just really wasn't the Eagles' night. They made too many mistakes. They didn't play well. And Washington really used the Eagles' formula against them. If you look at the season, we're dominating time of possession. In the first half, we had the ball for like 7 minutes or something. They had the ball for pretty much the Washington had the ball for almost the entire first half. It was terrible, and they were running the same exact plays. They were running the ball first down, second down. They were getting 5 yards easily. They were running the ball all over us. The guys were getting blown off the line. A lot of these guys like Fletcher Cox, I was wrong about Fletcher Cox. I expected more from him to bounce back this season. He's looking like a guy that, can't take it anymore. He looks like a guy that needs to be retiring soon. And this run defense is suffering without Jordan Davis, and Jonathan Gannon is making no adjustments. He's making no adjustments. You don't have, a big dude like that people just can't run through anymore. So change it up a little bit. Get Nakobe Dean in there. Get Nakobe Dean in there and run 3 linebackers. Kaiser, TJ, and Nakobe out there. I think that's something that could help the run defense. But for some reason, they don't want to take the training wheels off of Nakobe Dean. He's just standing on the sideline. He's not playing. So Gannon needs to do something with the personnel. You don't have the same personnel. You got to make adjustments. He's not making any adjustments. And it's a huge problem. And it's not going to get any easier. The Eagles have to play Saquon Barkley twice in the division. You got to play Jonathan Taylor this week. You got to play some really talented, good running backs down the stretch. So the Eagles are going to have to figure it out, and they're going to have to figure it out probably before they get Jordan Davis back. So it's a huge problem that we have on our hands right now with Jonathan Gannon. I do expect the team to respond very well to it, though. I think that we're going to come out, we're going to flush this out, burn the film, put it behind us, and get a win against the Colts. And we're going to talk about that game later in the show. But brutal, dog shit performance. Not much to be said, but It was just wasn't our night at all.
Yeah, and that bevy of running backs that you mentioned, that doesn't include Alvin Kamara. We have to face Dallas again on Christmas Eve, so Zeke and Tony Pollard. I think it was just this past game on a Sunday where you watched Justin Fields be just an absolute dual threat in terms of running and passing the football. I think he had like 134 yards or so in rushing. I'd have to go back to the box score to check, but Justin Fields was a monster that game. Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, like I said, Alvin Kamara. We still have to play Saquon Barkley twice. This is just another example of what happens when you just don't clean up a continued mistake that you're making for how the team is playing. If you were to tell me going into this game, Jalen Hurts goes 17 to 26, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, one interception. Like you'll take that interception so long as the team is still scoring. They were 3 for 3 in red zone efficiency. You'll take that. Hurts had a QBR this game of 73 to Heineke's 62. He was sacked only one time, had a passer rating of 94. If you were to tell me that he did that on top of 6 carries for 28 yards, Hurts didn't scramble all that much. He only did 6 times. He had an all around decent game, but the problem is, again, when you break it down to time of possession, and we'll look at it here. I think this is one of the worst games of the season so far, where the Eagles got dominated in that. The Commanders had it for 40 minutes.
It's probably the worst game in years that we've seen a game like this, where the team had the ball the whole time, basically.
Almost 40 and a half minutes, the Commanders had the ball to the Eagles 1936. I mean, look
it's just not going to cut it.
12 of 21 on third down for the Commanders. How in the hell do you allow a team to have 21 attempts at third down? I mean, I think it was a few tweets on Twitter I seen by a couple of people, and one of them I think used to be an NFL exec or part of a coaching staff or something, and I seen him tweeting, and he says that run defense is a commitment. You have to be committed to stopping the run, and for how many games now the Eagles just continue to fail at doing that. I don't know if
doesn't make any sense to me. I mean,
I don't know if they're not talented enough, or is somebody getting?
I don't think they're not talented enough. I think it doesn't make sense to me though, because I think you're right, but it doesn't make sense to me because you have a good secondary, so it's not like you're having to drop guys because you think they're going to get burned. No, like these guys are not getting burned all the time. I know McLaurin had a big game, but for the most part this season, the secondary has been getting it done. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had another interception last night. So you know what? The secondary is doing their thing, so I'm not really worried about the secondary getting burned. So I'm more willing to put guys in the box because of the way the secondary is played.
There was really nothing that the Commanders did was special in this game either. They weren't able to move the ball down the field in terms of passing. The Eagles beat them in that 6.3 to 5.6. It's not a tremendous gap, but you'll take it for what it is. Both teams didn't throw the football all that much, 29 to 26 pass attempts. But look, I mean, when a team is able to run the football and they're making it work, yes. Brian Robinson for the Commanders, he had 26 attempts or 26 carries for 86 yards. That doesn't look all too good on paper. But when you're able to get chunk yardage on first and second down consecutively to put yourself in third and short situations to make for easy conversions, you're going to have your day with whatever defense you're facing. I don't care if you're the first best defense or the last or the worst defense. It doesn't matter. You're still going to have your way no matter what, because those third down and distances, when it comes to being short, they're favored against you no matter what. If you have the personnel to go for those kind of short yardage situations. And that's what the Commanders were able to do. They followed the blueprint to what other teams have exploited in terms of the Eagles' defense. They know that we're not good at stopping the run, and they're just following suit to what made other teams successful and making it a competitive matchup against the Eagles. I mean, I don't understand why Gannon, from a week-to-week basis, is not making the proper adjustments or just not getting the message to his players that, guys,
it makes absolutely no sense.
We're giving them everything here. And you just seen what the Texans were able to do. I mean, I don't know what more to say here. This is another football team that was able to rush for another 150 plus yards, and the Eagles barely managed 95. Like, what's going on here? You have to be committed to stopping the run, and they just continue to refuse to do that. At some point, you have to say, this isn't just about Jordan Davis. Someone else has to step up on that defensive line, take command, and say, guys, come on, we're sluggish here. I don't know.
It's so crazy to me because
it's absolutely flabbergasting.
It's so crazy to me because for, I want to say, several years now, the Eagles have been hanging their hat on stopping the run.
Yes.
Like we're always shutting down the run. Like, this is never a problem for us, and now we cannot stop the run. Jonathan Gannon is trying to be like, I don't know what he's doing. He's trying to be too smart or too cute or whatever you phrase you want to call it. And it doesn't make any sense to me why you have a problem putting more guys in the box so you can stop the run. It doesn't make any sense. Like I said, the secondary is not, we don't have Jalen Mills out there anymore. We don't have Sidney Jones. We don't have Ronald Darby. We don't have any of these guys that are bums. We have Brad Berry and we have Slay. We have guys that can play at a high level. And you're still not putting guys in the box. It's just really frustrating. And like you said, I don't think the Commanders really did anything crazy. Like, when I was watching that game, I was literally getting so frustrated because I was like, bro, they are running the exact same plays over and over and over and over and over again, and we're not stopping it. So I was like, okay. After the first half, I was like, okay. Second half, we're going to look at what they did, and we're going to figure it out. We did not figure it out. So Gannon, Jonathan Taylor better have one of his worst games of the season. Like, Jonathan Gannon is supposed to be a guy that's like, he's the next big thing and, head coach candidate. It's time for you to do something, bro. Because, like you said, Lindy, like, this has been a continuous problem for us during the season. So, do you think Gannon does deserve the most blame for the loss? Or if not, then who does deserve the most blame for last night?
No, I don't think this falls on one person who deserves the most blame. I think Sirianni said it best in the post-game press conference, is that they were 8-0 as a team, and they lost this game as a team. I mean, all three levels they were absolutely sloppy. Offensively, defensively, special teams. At some point they have to put it to bed and say that, yes, I understand this kid's an undrafted free agent, but Britton Covey is not working out as a returner. You need a more consistent spark when it comes to that. I don't know why they don't test Quez Watkins back there. I mean, how many games ago was it the Texans game that they had Devontae Smith returning a punt or some sort? I don't know, but where's if Britton Covey's not working out, where's Devin Allen? Can you not at least try him, the track star? I'm special teams and okay, I did.
Eagles should have never got rid of DeAndre Carter. He was such a beast on special teams, and we got rid of him for no reason.
So when we're talking about run defense and knowing how much the Eagles emphasize their efficiency when it comes to run defense, through 9 games this year, Jonathan Gannon's defense at stopping the run is allowing on average 125 rush yards a game.
It's terrible.
That's pathetic. That is 20th in the NFL. Yeah, it's below average, but I think it looks worse on paper. But when you put it into that perspective, over 120 a game, no. 2017, do you want to take a guess what it was?
It was definitely under 100.
79. Teams barely accomplished
No one could
80
run the
against
ball on
that
us.
defense. That's what it boils down to. It boils down to a commitment. Yeah, you have to have the desire to stop the run. And time again, we're watching these guys on the D line just getting moved off their spot with little effort. I don't know how many times I watched Robinson last night go through gaping hole after gaping hole up the middle. There's no lane clogging. There's just no force of pushing these guys to the outside and letting your athletic linebackers make a tackle in the open field. There's none of that going on. Your secondary is still good enough to get the job done, although Terry McLaurin did have a field day against them. You knew Avonte Maddox was out. You're still able to force turnovers. You had the forced fumble by Josh Sweat. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had another interception. You can get it done on that front. But if you're just going to allow teams on a week-to-week basis run all over you to help them set up the pass, then you got a problem there. And then offensively, I'd have to say that this is probably the sloppiest fourth quarter I've watched this season to date. I think it absolutely was. They had 2 fumbles in the fourth quarter. The Quez Watkins, I believe it was the Quez Watkins one, and then you had the fumble by Dallas Goedert, which
even though that shouldn't have been a fumble because it was a face mask.
I don't know how you missed that face mask. That's literally
was looking right at him
in front of your face. I don't know how you missed that, but
if you see the replay, the ref is looking right at him as he's getting his face mask yanked.
But it is
what it is.
Yeah, it is.
We shouldn't put ourselves in that position.
I don't think the blame should. I don't think the blame should stay on a specific front. I do.
It was just a bad game all around.
Yeah, I do agree with Sirianni on the premise that this goes across all 3 levels, and it doesn't include just the players. It also includes the coaches for not putting them in a position to succeed. They could have righted their wrongs at halftime to know that in the second quarter, the first half is where the Eagles dominate, as we know. They recorded one of the highest first
in NFL history.
One of the, if not the highest first half point total through 7-8 games. They were held to 0 in the second quarter. I don't care what they scored in the first. I mean, there was just no consistency from them. Second and third quarter, they got shut out. 16 unanswered points through the second and third quarter. What are you doing? I mean, they had more than enough time to prepare for this game, especially that it was a bit of an extended break. You come home to the Link, in front of the Philly crowd, and this is what you do? No, it's just I don't know where the preparation was. It's just I don't know
It
where
was brutal.
preparation, emotion. They looked flat. End of story. They looked absolutely flat.
They were definitely flat. So, with all that being said, how do the Eagles get back on track? Like, what is the main things that needs to happen over the rest of the season to make sure we don't end up in any type of situations like this? So obviously, adjusting with Jonathan Gannon is probably number one, because it's just been a recurring problem. It's been going on and on with the run defense this season. Hasn't looked good. So obviously, Jordan Davis is still going to be out for a significant amount of time. So with that being said, you gotta figure it out. You're going to have to change personnel. Him not being there is a big loss. So it's like I said. I mean, I want to see more Nakobe Dean. I think that running 4-3, get 3 linebackers out there. You got some guys with some speed. You got some guys that can tackle and make stuff happen. TJ Edwards been balling. Kaiser White has been good this year for us. So I want to see what the young guy has got. So Nakobe Dean, I want to see him get more playing time, and I think that can be kind of a placeholder until his former Georgia teammate Jordan Davis gets back into the fold. So I think that's what we need to see, more adjustments with Gannon. You got to change your personnel to help fix this problem. Otherwise, it's going to just keep going on and on and on.
I think we've seen more than enough examples when it comes to college replays on how Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean played together, and the way of the talent that Jordan Davis is, and how he was able to control and impact the line of scrimmage, particularly on run fits where he just clogs up as many lanes as he possibly can. And you would watch when a hole seems to open, but it immediately closes because of the closing speed that Nakobe Dean possesses to be able to shut that down. Well, if he's able to work behind Jordan Davis in that fashion, well, you can't tell me that there's another guy on that defensive line where Nakobe cannot work in that type of situation. So you already know how good of a tackler and how consistent of a tackler TJ Edwards can be. How Kaiser White has played to this point, and especially when Jonathan Gannon drops the safeties down. I mean, we've seen at times where CJ Gardner-Johnson is getting sacks on safety blitzes, or he comes down to crash or comes down.
Made a nice tackle on Kevin McLaurin on a screenplay last night.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. You mean to tell me that Nakobe Dean is not ready to do that yet, and you're just sticking him on special teams as if he's
you gotta let him play,
not
man.
more talented than where he's not more talented than Sean Bradley. I mean, we thought we were getting good value out of Sean Bradley when we took him out of his draft class, and everyone's saying how much of a steal Nakobe Dean was in the 3rd round, and yet you're not plugging him in more consistently to the defense. I want to see more
Nakobe Dean. I think that's something that we need to see in this Colts game.
But to simplify it a little more, yes, the defense did take a pretty nasty hit, but when it comes to an overall ranking, the Eagles are still top 5 offensively. They're the 3rd highest scoring offense in the league at 27.3. So getting up to 21 points, yeah, it didn't hurt them much. You already know how capable their offense is, but it can't be you can't cough up the football. You can't cough up the football that many times in a single game. And Sirianni knew that. He, in his
Quez got to be
press
better
conference
than that.
discussed. Yes, so just protect the football, especially on that Quez fumble.
If he runs under it and just goes in stride, that's a touchdown.
I have to imagine
he completely messed that play up.
I have to imagine in that play, Quez understood that he was behind 2 defenders. So somebody at some point when he had to adjust to the football, that they were going to crash on him. Even then to sacrifice a touchdown, but to guarantee that you have possession, just at least stay down with it and trying to recover after the catch. I know you want to get as much yards as you can, but in that situation, do you want to risk the opposing defense forcing a turnover on you, because
those are the type of plays that win and lose games?
You just don't have the situational awareness for that. I don't know, but defensively, again, the Eagles are still top 10 in that. They're still only allowing 19 points a game. They're at 18.6. That's good for 7th best in all of football. And I know we're making it seem like it's the end of the world after the Eagles' very first loss of the season. I mean, the Eagles were the only undefeated team left. But I think it's in the fashion of how the Eagles lost, understanding that, despite some
of the mistakes we've seen have just come to haunt them.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Yeah, we knew we didn't have Avonte Maddox that game, and we had to elevate Mario Goodrich, and he came up, and Blankenship was in there for a few plays, which he didn't at some points he didn't look very good. But I think when you look at the Eagles overall statistically, it's kind of easy to point out where they need to improve. Again, when it comes to run defense, they're pretty poor. They're 25th in yards per carry allowed at 4.7. That's not going to cut it. Yes, they're only giving up the 14th most touchdowns at 8, but when you're just allowing a team to march up and down the field, allowing the run to set up the pass, it's just a recipe for disaster. They're 20th in yards allowed, 14th in touchdowns allowed, 25th in yards per carry allowed, 15th in attempts. That's where most of their problems are existing. Third down efficiency, again, they're not very good. They're 20th in the league. Fourth down conversion efficiency, they're third worst at 29th. I mean,
yeah,
it's right there. It's right there in front of your face. Secondary, the secondary, there's not much issues. I mean, how many 100-yard receiving games against an opposing offense can you think off the top of your head that the Eagles have allowed? Next to none.
I think of one other than this one, not off the top of my head.
I mean, there
maybe St. Brown. Do you have 100 yards?
I'd have to check that one quick. Let me look at the box score here.
I guess that takes us to a good point. We're going to take a short commercial break here, and once we get back, got some bad news on the Eagles injury front. Dallas Goedert expected to miss some significant times, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love. Unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics. And autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Fanatics, official sponsor of the Linc'd In Podcast. Order all your officially licensed gear and stuff. Use the link in the description. You guys can help us out as well. So, Dallas Goedert is going to miss significant time, guys, with a shoulder injury. This is brutal for the Eagles offense because Dallas is such a big part of what we do, man. Like, we just get this guy the ball. We get him the ball in different ways. He's huge in the intermediate game. That tight end screen, they love that play. They run that with him to no end. They've tried to run it a few times last night as well. This sucks. This absolutely sucks. We don't know when he's going to get back. Could he be back in time for the playoffs? I don't know, man. We're going to have to see how everything goes and how he progresses and gets healthy and stuff. Shoulder injuries, those are pretty serious injuries, and those take pretty good amount of time to heal from and be 100%. So I don't know, man. Like these other guys, Jack Stoll, they've made some plays here and there. Calcaterra, I don't know, man. Yeah, you activate Tyree Jackson. It's been about 2 or 3 weeks since then. So what's going to happen with this tight end position? That's going to be the biggest question mark. We're probably going to have to go to a tight end by committee type of thing. I would assume, because not a single one of these guys is going to replace the production of Goedert. And losing him, it's absolutely brutal. So this really, really sucks for the Eagles.
Well, I honestly can't. Well, before we went to commercial break, you were wondering how many yards Amon-Ra St. Brown had in the Week 1 matchup against us. He only had 64 on 8 catches. So I think the second closest receiver against us was probably Hollywood Brown before he got traded. I think he had 9 for 84. So I think Terry McLaurin, if memory serves me correct here in research, is probably the first receiver to hit over 100 yards against us. But I would have to go through the rest of the previous games. But no, I mean there's rumors going around right now that potentially Dallas Goedert could see an IR visit, and that's the last thing that we could ask for, especially 9 games in. We're in the back half of the season. Every game that the Eagles play is just one step higher in priority to securing their one seed in the NFC, because they still clearly have the best shot in achieving that with the way the rest of the NFC is looking right now. With some teams on the come up, and you just watched Tampa Bay get that win in Germany against Seattle. So it's kind of halting things a little bit in terms of second place in that conference. But yeah, I mean, we already watched what a shoulder injury does to some players. Jordan Mailata, we thought he was gonna miss significant time due to his shoulder issue, but he came back a little sooner than expected. And those kind of injuries are odd and sensitive to work around at the same time because of how much contact Dallas deals with on a weekly basis in these games, being one of the top priority, receivers on the team as a tight end, top 5 tight end in the league. And, he was just
having a career year.
I mean, yeah, he was continuing to create a campaign for himself that, hey, you guys are constantly talking about George Kittles and Travis Kelce's of the world. Where am I in all this? And he was having that kind of year to continue to make a stronger name and a stronger case for himself. And then this happens, and it's
Absolutely
funny because on Sunday, you watched Zach Ertz go down with a season-ending knee injury for the Arizona Cardinals. And
hopefully Zach heals as well.
Yeah, so another fellow Eagle just going down. Can the Eagles overcome this? I think they're offensively talented enough. I also feel that this game was an anomaly to where we just couldn't get our top receivers going. I mean, for crap's sake, How often are you going to see A.J. Brown have one catch
wasn't
for
his
7
night.
yards on 4 targets? What was that?
Probably not a lot. But I do
He
think
got
you're right. I think that the
4
receivers,
targets?
we're going to have to get these receivers going. We're going to have to get Smitty's probably going to have to be a lot more involved than he has so far. AJ's probably going to have to be even more involved, even though he's pretty much been a big focal point for us. And Quez has got to put these mistakes behind him. Like, I hope that this that costly turnover, I hope it does not get in his head. I hope he can just kind of flush it out. Because Quez, we know that he has big playability. Yeah, he made a big play on that play. He just fumbled it. So that sucks. But I think those 3 guys, they're going to have to be a lot more involved in our passing game with Goedert being out. So that's another adjustment as well the Eagles offense is going to make, and we know that the Eagles defense has to make an adjustments as well with the way the run defense is played. So that's 2 big adjustments right there that the Eagles are going to have to make. It won't be easy, but hopefully they can figure it out.
Yeah, I really hope that they can figure it out, man. I mean, like I said, we just named off how many quality running backs that we still have to face. Yeah, we're going to talk about our Colts matchup soon, but
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, and A.J. Dillon, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley twice, Chicago Bears. We already
Fields.
Yeah, we already talked.
I'm not saying
about
he's a running back, but he's been running the ball like crazy.
We got the Cowboys on Christmas Eve, Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott, Alvin Kamara. I mean, you're
gonna have to figure it out. So we can't just let every team run for 150 yards or whatever against us. Has to be figured out. But at the same time, the offense, losing Goedert, huge loss for the Eagles offense. Gonna have to get these receivers, gonna have to get Smitty, AJ, Quez, all the guys got to get more involved in the passing game. And hopefully we'll figure it out, and maybe we'll get lucky enough and Goedert can come back by the time the playoffs comes around. So that being said, let's try to put this crap behind us, this game, and let's talk about this upcoming game on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. Lindy, what are some of the main things that you're looking out for?
Oh, when it comes to the Colts here, so I mean, they just had their coaching shakeup between
Jeff Saturday, undefeated as the Colts head coach, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so Jeff Saturday takes a hold of the football team now, and then they re-elevate Matt Ryan. They come in, they get a win, but Jeff has a mess to clean up offensively. The Colts are one of the lowest scoring offenses in the league. They're second worst in that category at 16 points a game, but they are a fringe top 10 defense. And where does their top 10 defense derive from? Run defense. and a little bit of pass defense. So you got a combination there. They're 7th in passing yards allowed. They are second best in the league in yards per carry allowed. So, I mean, it's gonna be a little tough one for the Eagles there. How many times did we only run the ball against the Commanders, and the Commanders aren't remotely as good of a run defense as the Colts are in terms of yards per carry allowed. They're 10th in yards allowed. They're 2nd in yards per carry allowed, 13th in touchdowns allowed. So, across the board, we know how good the Colts defense can be when they strap down and dial in. Yeah, they're a formidable opponent. Stephon Gilmore seems to be on a on a resurgence campaign over there. He had a great performance on Sunday. Third down percentage, Colts are the 4th best defense at allowing just 34% of a conversion rate when it comes to third down. The Eagles The Eagles don't tend to struggle in that category, but they also aren't really one of the very best. So again, I'm not worried about what the Eagles can do offensively. I'm more worried about what the Eagles can do defensively because, again, we're reflecting back on the fact that, and if we're being realistic here, we got to call a spade a spade. There's at least only 2 games in the first 9 matchups that the Eagles have had this season so far. There's only been 2 games where in those matchups, teams have given the Eagles fits in terms of being able to run the football. Those games in particular, let me go back to the schedule here. Those games in particular, you had DeAndre Swift rush for 100 plus in week 1, and then you had Dameon Pierce, the rookie, just completely abuse you in that game. So the rest of the games defensively, Lions rushed for 181 yards that game, and I think the Houston Texans ran for 168. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good across the board as a whole for Philly. So that's something that the trend has to stop. Out of 9 games, the Eagles have held 3 teams. 3 of those games, they held teams to under 100 yards. The rest of them, well, the worst was against the Detroit Lions at 181. So, I mean,
that really ain't gonna cut it, fam.
No,
something gotta give.
You think you're gonna get a break with Jonathan Taylor? Think again.
Hell no. I mean, Jonathan Taylor had his first game back from injury last year, and he was out there running like he was looking exactly like he did last year. It's like the guy never left. So, one of the greatest, best running backs in the league. So, what's the key to this game? In short, stop the damn run. What receivers do they have? Are you scared of the Colts receiving core? Are you scared of someone like Pittman cooking you? I'm not. I'm not scared of these receivers. Put everybody in the damn box. Don't let Jonathan Taylor get going. Don't let him run over everybody like he's prime Adrian Peterson. Just stop the damn guy. Or at least contain him a little bit, and everything should be fine. I mean, Eagles offense, I think we're going to bounce back after last week. Like, so many things went wrong in that Washington game, but these guys are going to respond. They're going to come out, and they're going to get the job done. But key to the game, just stop the damn run. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science. Just stop the run.
Jonathan Taylor in his matchup, in the Colts matchup against the Raiders just this Sunday, averaged 6.7 yards a carry, 22 for 147. and let's look at the Raiders. Let's look at the Raiders' run defense for a quick second here. So let's see, where do the Raiders stack up in terms of stopping the run? They are below average across the board. They are 17th in yards per carry allowed. So, looks to me that they are a little bit better than the Eagles, and Jonathan Taylor had that kind of day against the Vegas Raiders. So, there's no other way. There's no other way you can spell it here, man.
Just completely sell out. Just stop the run. That's the best way I can put it. Because what other weapons do they really have on the offensive side that's gonna really have cause for concern for you? It's not too many guys I can think of. So stop the damn run. Just stop the damn run.
I mean, it just makes it worse that other teams are watching, or other teams were watching Monday Night Football, Washington comes to Lincoln Financial Field, and they're like, okay, all we're going to do is run the football on you. 49 carries. Yes, the Commanders as a team only averaged 3.1 yards a carry. But what did it get them? 12 of 21 on third down, where the Eagles could not make a stop. So what do you think that's telling the rest of the teams on the remaining schedule for the Eagles to do? What do you think that's telling them to do? Oh, well, they're going to say, oh, well, the Eagles haven't stopped this team. They haven't stopped this team, this, that, and the third. Okay, well, let's continue the trend. If they don't want to commit to stopping the run, then we'll do what the previous team did to make us successful. Again, it goes back to this. The Lions rushed for 181 yards. The Cardinals got 124. The Cowboys had 134. 144 against the Steelers, 168 against the Texans, and then the Commanders ran for 152. Do you see a trend here? For 5 straight games since week 5, teams have ran for over 120 yards against the Eagles' run defense. When are you going to stop the bleeding, Jonathan Gannon, to tell your players, where's the commitment? Yes, we don't have Jordan Davis, but it's not up to one player to allow you guys to be more proficient in stopping the run. Let's get our asses in gear and figure this out. It's not hard. It's not hard. I don't get it.
Not. But as you said, stopping the run has been a major issue. We haven't been able to stop the run all season, it seems like. And that's really weird. As I said many times, we've been one of the most dominant teams at stopping the run. If you look over the last 5 years or so, since 2017 when they won the Super Bowl, as you said, teams weren't even running for 80 yards on us that season.
Nope.
And look where we are now. It kind of puts things into perspective. But that's pretty much what we have time for.
I mean, for how many years that we have been watching the Eagles here, Jim? Like, for how many years we've been watching this team? Draft day in, draft day out. This team always prioritizes offensive line and defensive line. They always set the premium the highest when it comes to the trenches. And, I think
these guys a lot of money
off the most.
I mean, Fletcher Cox. I mean, this guy's just looking old. He's just getting pushed around. It's sad to watch.
Stopping
sad
the
to
run.
Watch.
Yeah.
Not just him. I'm not just singling him out, but a lot of the guys are just getting pushed around. It's pathetic to watch. Shouldn't happen.
Stopping the run starts at the first level of your defense. And it's how well
D-line got to control the line of scrimmage.
And where is it? Where has it been for 5 straight games?
There's no control.
You can't rely on your linebackers to try and develop some sort of damage control when, again, you have there's no tone setting at the line of scrimmage. You're just letting offensive line after offensive line bully you around on a game-to-game basis. When is it going to stop?
It's looking like the Eagles are going to have to use that Saints pick on a great defensive lineman.
Another one, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Why can't we? And I don't want to boil this down to coaching though, but can we try and find a Jeff Stoutland for the defensive line? Seriously though, how beneficial that would be for how damn good Jeff Stoutland is as an offensive line coach, for how many guys he's been able to develop when it comes to the players.
A lot of guys.
Can we find one? Can we find one of those? I'm sure Tracy Rocker is good at it. I'm sure Tracy Rocker is good at his job, but this isn't looking good on him. This isn't looking good on the defensive coordinator. And it's not looking good as a whole. I don't think any of us understand why there just seems to be no improvement week in and week out. The Eagles
I damn sure don't.
The Eagles for two consecutive games. 2 consecutive games, the Eagles come off of a bye week, and they had an extended break after the Texans game. All that time for preparation. Where was it?
It's watching this team get pushed around like that. It's just embarrassing, guys. But that's pretty much what we have time for here tonight. Linc'd In Podcast every Tuesday nights from 9:30 Eastern to 10:30-ish Eastern. But Lindy, you working on anything right now that you want to let the people know about? Where they can follow you, where they can find you, any stuff like that?
Well, I tend to keep myself as active as I possibly can on Twitter, and my YouTube channel personally has taken a bit of a hit with my career change and the commitment I've made to making some positive changes in my life outside of YouTube, but I did make the promise to stay committed as I am to the podcast, man, because we got big things we want to accomplish for this, and 20 episodes already is a pretty damn cool
pretty damn
milestone.
Good.
It's a cool milestone, and I think the popularity is growing, and we can only go nowhere but up right now. So yeah, I'm not going anywhere when it comes to the podcast, and then maybe the channel soon enough will return to its former glory of being a little more consistent.
Absolutely. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Like we said, you can find us here Tuesday nights, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, talking everything Eagles. With that being said, we will see you guys next time.